There's been a lot of attention drawn these days to videos and news stories coming out of China depicting scenes of protests and violence in certain areas. And whereas these videos are actually true, I think it's very important to understand the rationale and the reason behind these videos and these depictions. And it's a lot different than you're going to hear from the anti China haters and Western news media. Let's talk about it. 大家好，我是 Sir Ant 在中国. Hey everyone, it's Sir Ant in China. How y'all doing today? I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm having a great day as usual over here in China. And I've decided today to talk about something that has recently been sent to me in one of the comments on one of my recent videos. Now, I have been talking quite a bit about comments in my recent videos, so I thought I would become a little bit more transparent about just how I deal with a lot of these comments. Now, when it comes to blocking or censoring comments, I don't really have a lot to do with that. If the comments have profanity or hatred or violent suggestions, I think YouTube just outright blocks those, and even I don't see them. But when it comes to other comments that either contain certain keywords that I want to pay attention to or have links to external websites in them, YouTube will hold on to those comments to allow me to look at them first and then either approve or remove them. In most cases, at least 95% of the time, I do approve all of the comments that I receive, even if they are somewhat ridiculous. The reason I do this is because I want to be able to not only share those comments, even if they're negative, with my viewers, but I also want to be able to debunk them or give an explanation from my own personal experience. But when it comes to links in comments, that's a different story. If those links are leading to anti-China hate propaganda, whether in YouTube videos or websites, I choose not to share those with my community, simply because I do not want to show any support whatsoever to those communities by sending people there, even if just out of curiosity. What could typically happen is if I posted a link, for example, to the China Observer YouTube page, people might click that link just to see what it's all about and inadvertently be supporting that page, which I do not feel is worthwhile. And therefore, I don't post links to those types of channels. Nor will I post links to websites which feature hatred, misinformation, disinformation, or just plain stupidity. Not because I don't feel that my viewers are capable of dealing with it themselves, but simply put, I'm not going to be the catalyst to support that kind of garbage. And when it comes to links to external websites as well, there are still a lot of terrible people on the internet who do put links on YouTube videos in comments to malware, spyware, and other harmful garbage which is meant to either destroy your computer or steal your money. I would prefer not to help propagate those links, so I have all links held so that I can take a quick peek first and make sure that it's not something damaging to my community or just plain garbage that I have no intention of supporting. In a recent case, just today as a matter of fact, I got about a dozen held comments from a particular anti-China shill who does quite enjoy attacking my videos. And he sent the same video link over and over and over again. His copy and paste skills are off the hook. Now, I don't understand how these people could possibly think that by copy and pasting a comment over and over and over and over again gives it more credibility. In fact, it just makes them look like a child. But irregardless, The link that they sent was to a YouTube video, and I decided to check it out for a few seconds just to see what the general idea was. And this was a posting of clips that had been gathered about recent protests and violence in the streets of certain areas of China. Of course, I removed those links. I'm not going to post those for people. If you wanted to find that kind of information yourself, you obviously could. But there's a very specific reason that I would not post those links, because A, YouTube has a very, very strong policy against violence of any kind in videos. So had I posted that video or taken a clip from that video to share with you, YouTube would have done something called shadow banning my video, which means that they wouldn't block my video entirely, they wouldn't remove my video from YouTube, but nobody would see it. Only people that specifically came to my page, saw the video and clicked it, would ever know it existed. It would not go into the regular news feeds, it would not be sent out to my subscribers, so essentially nobody would know it was there. And in this particular video's case, when I clicked on it and saw what it was, they had 11 views. 11. For a sensationalist story like that, I would have expected thousands, if not millions of views. But they had 11. Had I allowed that link through and let my community of 15,000 people see that link and click it, I could have potentially helped their channel tremendously. So I simply won't do it. When it comes to spreading the haterade, that's not what I'm all about, so I won't share those links. However, if you do want to send me links to anything, by all means, I am willing to have a look and I will speak about them, but I'm not going to share them with the rest of the community. Now, as per this particular video, yes, it did depict violence. People fighting with police, very angry protesters, thousands of people very, very agitated. But this is not a new or China-specific situation. Obviously, all one has to do is look at the news coming out of the United States of America, and whereas this protest had thousands of people, there are millions of people protesting and tons of violence going on every single day in America, all across the country. And they are, of course, protesting the tyrant, the dictator that is trying to take over and make himself the supreme overlord. I'm not going to bother going into the details about America, but it's a really, really shitty situation. And this tyrant is even attempting to take over the cities and the police forces with military force. If this happened anywhere else in the world, it would be considered a high crime, and that con man tyrant would be strung up or thrown into the bottom of a deep, dark pit in the worst prison possible. But that's America. Again, that's not my concern. My concern is more about China. So why are these protests happening? And why is there violence? Well, as much as I'm not condoning the violence or the protests themselves, there is a very strong and rational reason for it. For those that are unaware, there's been a quite high-profile bullying case between teenagers in that area of China. The bullies come from an affluent family, rich people. And of course, everybody knows about the two-tiered justice system. The more money you have, the better your lawyer. The better your lawyer, the more loopholes, and the easier to grease the wheels of the justice system. So very famously, all around the world, the richer you are, the less you're going to be punished for your crimes. Even high crimes like murder, fraud, rape, etc. People have been famously getting off with these crimes forever, including the tyrant running the United States of America. But the difference is, in North America, when these rich people get off of drunk driving charges, murder charges, robbery charges, fraud charges, the people get a little pissed off and they get a little angry and they complain and they mumble and grumble. But that's as far as it goes, which, of course, empowers the rich people to just keep doing it. They live in a pay-to-win justice system. However, China is a little different. China, for decades now, has been actively fighting corruption, fighting inequality to a much higher level and a much firmer standard. For example, the blank paper or white paper protests at the end of the COVID pandemic. The Chinese people said, no, we are not going to live with the restrictions anymore. And they took to the streets and they showed their leadership that they were serious. What happened? The leadership gave them what they wanted. The COVID restrictions ended overnight, and as a result, I was able to return to China as soon as that happened, as I was waiting desperately in my own country to come back. The same is happening here. The common people are sick and tired of a two-tiered justice system. Bullies, although bullying is not necessarily a high crime, bullies should not be getting off scot-free because their parents are rich. Period. They are demanding a change to this pay-to-win justice system. As such, the people took to the streets once again. And of course, whenever you get a large group of people together and tempers are flaring, people are getting hot, they're getting angry, the smallest interactions can turn into much bigger issues. For example, violence. In this particular situation, people started pushing at the police, who are authority figures. And so that became a focal point for their anger. So they started pushing, they started fighting, and the police started pushing and started fighting back. Partially in defense, and I suspect also partially in anger, because they are not the ones making the decisions, yet they were being held accountable by thousands of people in the streets. It's an ugly situation, and I wish it had never happened, but it does show me one very important fact, and that is Chinese people are willing now to stand up and make changes for the better in their own countries. Rich people across this country are now going to start thinking twice about just how easily they can get away with crime, whether themselves, their children, their associates, whatever. The people are not going to stand for it anymore, and this is probably the best and only way to enact cross-country political change from the grassroots level up to the very top. Once the people start gathering en masse and saying no more, it has to change. Whereas in my own culture, as long as you have the money, you can get off of anything. You can even grab them by the, well, you know what I mean. So yes, violence, protests, absolutely can be terrible things, but when those protests, when that violence is enacting countrywide change for the better, sometimes I wish my own culture were doing a lot more of that and letting those rich cowards at the top know that they can't get away with it anymore. Anyway, that's my rant for today. Thank you as always for joining me. I love all of your comments, by the way. I don't care if your comments are supportive and happy, joking, crazy, stupid, hate-filled, whatever. Your comments help the engagement on my channel grow, and I appreciate them all. It's very, very rare when I won't allow a comment to be published on my channel. And hey, if you have any questions or you have any concerns about my channel, absolutely let me know in the comments. I do my best to read every single one. And if you want to help to support my channel, keep on commenting. And if you want to take it a little further, well, you could become a channel member for the price of a cup of coffee each month, or you could hit one of those barcodes or click one of the links below to buy me a cup of coffee, or you could just simply hit subscribe and throw me a thumbs up if you like my content. That in itself goes a long way in helping YouTube to find my videos and share them with more people. But anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much as always, and we will see you in the next video. Zai Chen.